Rin stood beneath the overhang of the healer's hall, clutching the edges of his cloak as if they could shield him from fate itself. 8 years, 8 long years, he had walked into this building with steady steps and a steady lie. Today should have been no different, but the moment he stepped inside, something was wrong. The familiar scent of bitter herbs and ink was still there, yet the air felt foreign, sharper, colder. The elderly healer who had falsified his diagnosis for years was nowhere in sight. Instead, a stranger stood at the examination table, sorting vials with swift, efficient movements. Tall, severe-looking, a royal emblem glinted on the new healer's sleeve. Rin's stomach dropped. "You must be Rin of House Valorian," the man said without looking up. The omega marked as Barren. Marked. The word scraped against his nerves. "Yes," Rin replied softly. "I'm here for the routine renewal exam." Only then did the healer raise his head. Sharp gray eyes flicked over Rin, too perceptive, too clinical. "Take a seat." Rin obeyed, hands clasped tightly around his cloak. For years he had passed these exams easily, thanks to suppressors and the old healer's quiet loyalty. But the old man had been removed, no explanation, no warning. Rin forced his breathing steady as the healer strapped a thin silver band around his wrist. Sigils along its rim lit up, glowing faintly with blue light as it scanned his scent markers and endocrine levels. "Remain still." Rin nodded, though every instinct screamed run. After a moment, the healer frowned. He checked the sigils again. Then again. "This can't be right," he murmured. Rin's pulse thudded painfully. "What's wrong?" His voice was calm, practiced. Years of survival distilled into a single tone. The healer didn't answer at first. He went to the cabinet, retrieved a secondary diagnostic stone, and pressed it lightly to the gland at the back of Rin's neck. Heat flared as the stone activated. Again, the glow changed. Not barren blue, but fertile gold. The healer stepped back as if struck. "You're not barren," he said. "Your readings are fully functional. You're a fertile omega." The room rang with silence. Rin's vision narrowed to a pinpoint. That was impossible. He had suppressed everything, his scent, his cycle, his heat, for years. There should have been nothing to detect, nothing to expose him. Unless the old man had been protecting him far more than Rin realized. "I'll run the test again," Rin said quickly. "There must be a malfunction." "There is no malfunction." The healer's tone softened, but only slightly. "By law, I must report this to the palace immediately." No, cold fear clawed up Rin's spine. Once the palace knew, once he knew, the king would come for him. The throne had the right to claim any fertile omega. His 8 years of freedom, of anonymity, would vanish. "I should tell you," the healer added quietly as if sensing Rin's panic. "A royal envoy is already on the way. The king has been searching for a suitable omega for months. There are no others left unbonded. The world tilted, already on the way." Bootsteps thundered outside the hall, not one set. Dozens. Rin stood, heart slamming against his ribs. I need time." The doors burst open. Soldiers, armored in black and crimson, filled the entrance. At their head stood a man in half-plate armor, cloak dripping rainwater, eyes burning like molten gold. Every omega instinct inside Rin recoiled and trembled at once. An alpha, powerful enough that the air itself felt charged. The commander stepped forward. "Rin of House Valorian?" Rin fought the urge to step back. "Yes, you are hereby ordered to present yourself before His Majesty, King Alden. You will come with us." Rin's throat tightened. "By what right?" "By royal decree," the commander said. "A fertile omega unbonded past 20 is crown property under protection law." The hall went silent. Rin had known this day might come, but not like this. Not so suddenly. 2 soldiers seized his arms, not roughly, but without room for protest. The commander lowered his head respectfully, but the gesture meant nothing. "The king requests your presence in the palace immediately." Rin looked toward the rain-swept doorway, the only exit. The city beyond seemed both close and impossibly far. 8 years of pretending, 8 years of safety, all undone in a single breath. As they led him out into the storm, Rin whispered, barely audibly, "He knows." The palace rose from the heart of the capital like a fortress carved from night itself. Evergreen palace, dark stone, high walls, towers that pierced the clouds. Beautiful and merciless. Rin had only seen it from afar before. Now he was dragged through its iron gates in the pouring rain. boots splashing through puddles as soldiers formed a protective ring around him. Citizens gathered on the streets, whispering as he passed, "Is that an Omega? Unbonded? At that age?" The king finally found one. Poor thing. Lucky thing. Rin kept his eyes on the ground, jaw clenched, heart a trapped bird in his chest. They marched him through the royal courtyard, past the great stone lions that guarded the palace doors. Inside, warmth hit him like a shock. Braziers burning, polished floors reflecting torchlight, but it did nothing to ease the chill settling in his bones. At the end of a long corridor, the soldiers halted. "Wait here." The commander disappeared behind a pair of heavy doors. Rin crossed his arms tightly, palms damp. The scent of alphas lingered faintly along the hall. Powerful, disciplined, but none of them belonged to him. And that was the problem. A fertile Omega without a bond was a threat to every noble house. A prize to be fought over, a tool, a weapon, a womb. Rin swallowed. What does the king want with me? The door creaked open. Enter. 2 guards pushed the doors wider, and Rin stepped inside. The throne room was vast, pillars of obsidian rising to a ceiling lost in shadows. Windows framed the storm outside. A fire roared in the hearth, and at the far end, sitting on the throne of carved ironwood, was King Alden. Rin stopped breathing. The king was nothing like the rumors. Yes, he was tall, broad-shouldered, and imposing, with presence that filled the room like thunder. Yes, his scent was powerful enough to make Rin's knees weaken, even after years of suppressors. But his eyes were not the cold, ruthless gold of the stories. They were tired. Sharp, cautious, wary even. A man who had not slept well in months. "Approach," Alden said. His voice was deeper than Rin expected. Smooth, controlled, the kind of tone that could turn into a command or a comfort with equal ease. Rin forced his legs to move. 1 step, 2. The scent of strong alpha pheromones coiled around him like smoke, intense but held back, restrained by sheer will. When Rin reached the foot of the steps, he kneeled, not out of submission, but because if he didn't, his legs might give out. "Lift your head," Alden said. Rin obeyed. The king studied him for a long moment, long enough that Rin's heart hammered painfully. "You are not what I expected," Alden said quietly. Rin finally found his voice. "Your Majesty, this is a misunderstanding. I was diagnosed Barren at 16. I lived my life under that certainty." That certainty, Alden echoed, was falsified. Rin froze, so the king knew that much already. "The palace healer sent a report," Alden continued. "You are not Barren. In fact..." His gaze dropped to Rin's throat, then lower, lingering for the briefest moment on the spot where an Omega's gland pulsed beneath the skin. "You are exceptionally fertile. A rarity." Rin's fingers dug into his knees. "Your Majesty," he said carefully, "I request permission to return home." A faint smile touched Alden's lips, humorless, tired. "You cannot go home." Rin's stomach twisted. "You know the law," Alden said, voice quiet but heavy with finality. "A fertile Omega cannot remain unbonded. Every noble house already sent envoys the moment your diagnosis changed. If I let you walk out of this palace, you would not survive the night." Rin's breath hitched. He knew it was true. He hated that it was true. A pause. Then Alden rose from the throne. The movement was fluid yet measured, as if he favored one leg. Something was wrong with him, but Rin couldn't place what. The king descended the steps with the kind of controlled presence that made it clear he was restraining his pheromones for Rin's sake. He stopped only an arm's length away. "I did not summon you to claim you," Alden said. "Not today. Not by force." Rin's pulse jumped painfully. "Then why am I here?" he whispered. Alden held his gaze. Something unreadable flickered in those golden eyes. "Because," he said, low and steady, "you are in danger. And until I understand why you hid your nature for 8 years, you will stay here. Under my protection." Protection, the word tasted like a chain. Rin wanted to argue, to deny, to fight, but footsteps echoed from outside the throne room. A messenger burst in, breathless and pale. "Your Majesty, urgent news. The noble houses. They've gathered at the gates. They demand custody of the Omega." Rin's blood ran cold. Alden's expression hardened, shifting from man to king in a heartbeat. "Seal the palace," he commanded. "Anyone who approaches the Omega without my order, cut them down." Rin flinched. Alden turned to him again. His voice gentled. Not in softness, but in promise. You will stay where I can keep you safe. Rin swallowed. But safety, in the hands of the most powerful alpha in the kingdom, was that safety at all? The throne room erupted into motion. Soldiers moved with sharp, disciplined precision. The heavy doors slammed shut behind the messenger, echoing like thunder. Outside, the storm raged, and beyond that storm, a different one gathered at the palace gates. Dozens of noble banners, hundreds of armored knights, a sea of alphas demanding one thing: Rin. Rin swallowed hard as King Alden turned toward him. Stand, the king ordered, but not unkindly. Rin rose on unsteady legs. The room felt suddenly smaller, the air thick with tension and alpha pheromones, though none came from Alden. The king's scent was carefully reined in, wrapped tight as a clenched fist, as if he were afraid it would overwhelm Rin. Alden spoke to the commander. Relocate him to the Moon Guard wing. No one enters without my express permission. If any noble so much as steps foot in that corridor, arrest them. Yes, your majesty. Rin stiffened. The Moon Guard wing? That's the royal residence. It is also the most secure part of the palace, Alden replied. But it's where you live. A slight pause. Precisely. Rin stared at him. He could not sense even a flicker of possessiveness in Alden's scent, none of the aggressive pheromones Omegas feared. Only determination. Determination and something strangely gentle, something quiet and guarded. Still, the reality settled like a stone in his stomach. He was to live beside the king, under watch, under protection. A gilded cage, the commander gestured. Omega Rin, this way. Alden's voice stopped them. Wait. Rin froze. The king approached him slowly, each step deliberate. He reached into the inner pocket of his cloak and withdrew something small, barely the size of a coin. A silver sigil, the royal crest. Alden held it out. Wear this. Rin blinked. What is it? A scent shield, the king explained. Custom made for Omegas who must pass through crowded areas. Once activated, it masks your natural pheromones. He hesitated. It will help you breathe easier. Rin stared at the sigil in Alden's palm, then slowly lifted his hand and took it. Their fingers brushed, barely, but enough that a flicker of heat shot up Rin's arm. Alden noticed. His expression changed, just a shift, a flicker of something he quickly hid. You are trembling, the king said quietly. I am not used to, Rin began, then stopped. He shook his head. It doesn't matter. Alden studied him, eyes softening in a way that made Rin's chest tighten for reasons he did not understand. It does matter. Rin looked away. He couldn't afford to think the king was kind. Kindness was dangerous. Kindness made people lower their guard. Kindness made lies harder to maintain. Go with Captain Theron, Alden said. I will handle the nobles. Rin finally dared look at him again. Your Majesty, they're demanding me. Alden's jaw set, a storm behind gold eyes. They will not have you. Rin's breath caught, not from the words themselves, but from the way Alden said them, not possessive. Not claiming, protective, as if Rin's existence mattered beyond what he could provide. Move, Captain Theron urged quietly. Rin allowed himself to be guided from the throne room. Just as the doors closed behind him, he heard raised voices. Messengers reporting that the nobles were inching closer to the gates, shouting demands for the Omega to be surrendered. Alden's response cut through the hall, sharp as steel. Let them try. The doors slammed shut. Rin followed Captain Theron through twisting halls lit by torchlight. The palace was a maze. Stone corridors, stained glass windows, tapestries depicting past kings. But the Moon Guard wing was nothing like the rest of the palace. The air was warm, quiet, almost peaceful. 2 elite guards stood at the entrance. They stepped aside immediately. King Alden's orders, Theron said. You are not a prisoner. But you are not to leave this wing without escort. Rin nodded silently. Theron opened the door to a chamber. It was beautiful, soft carpets, a canopied bed, a balcony overlooking the inner gardens, a washroom with polished bronze fixtures, warm lantern light that made the whole room glow. I'll have meals sent to you. A personal attendant will be assigned in the morning. Rin's throat tightened. He had lived in a small attic room above a bookshop for years, barely large enough to stretch out in. This felt like another world. Theron paused, studying him. For what it's worth, the king isn't what the nobles say he is. Rin looked up, startled. He's fair, Theron murmured, and he's lonely. Before Rin could respond, the captain bowed and left. Silence filled the chamber. Rin stepped toward the balcony, pushing open the door. Cool air swept in, carrying the scent of rain and pine. Below, guards patrolled the gardens. Above, the storm had begun to clear, revealing a sliver of moonlight. Rin clutched the silver scent shield in his hand. His lie was over, his freedom was gone, his future uncertain. But one thing was unmistakably, dangerously clear. The Alpha King was nothing like he had expected, and that terrified Rin more than anything else. The Moon Guard wing was quiet, too quiet. Rin lay awake on the soft bed, staring at the embroidered canopy above him. The rain had finally stopped outside, leaving the palace wrapped in an eerie stillness, but Rin's mind refused to rest. Every memory of the day looped through his thoughts, the healer's wide-eyed shock, the soldiers dragging him through the capital, the nobles demanding his surrender, and Alden. The king's voice, his eyes, his scent held tightly in check, as if he feared to overwhelm Rin. Rin pressed a hand over his eyes. This was dangerous. He needed clarity, control. He couldn't let himself be swayed by a powerful alpha who gave him soft looks and spoke gently in a throne room carved from fear. He needed distance. Yet distance was the one thing he didn't have. A sudden knock startled him. Rin sat up quickly. "Come in." The door opened, and to his shock, King Alden stepped inside, not armored, not formal, but in simple dark clothes, damp from the rain, hair loosened from the tie he usually wore. He looked less like a king and more like a man dragged through a battlefield of politics and expectation. Rin rose to his feet instinctively. "Your Majesty," Alden held up a hand. "Don't kneel, not in private." Rin blinked. A king telling someone not to kneel was unheard of. Alden closed the door behind him, leaning against it for a moment as if he finally allowed himself a breath. "The nobles have retreated for now," he said quietly, "but that will not last. They're sending letters, threats dressed as requests." Rin's fingers curled. "Because of me, yes," the honesty stung. Alden approached the center of the room, stopping a respectful distance away. "They believe a fertile omega should be distributed for political alliances, passed around like currency." Rin went cold. Alden continued, jaw tightening. "It will not happen. Not while you are under my protection." Rin swallowed. "Why?" Alden blinked. "Why?" "You barely know me," Rin said softly. "You have no reason to risk your throne for a stranger. So, why?" Alden stepped closer, slowly, cautiously, like approaching a frightened animal. "Because I know what it is to have choice taken away," he said. Rin's breath caught. Alden held his gaze, steady, golden, and unbearably honest. "You may not trust me," the king murmured, "but I will never force you into anything. Not a bond, not a role, not a fate." His voice deepened. "And certainly not into the hands of men who see you as a political tool." Rin's heart trembled. The words felt too sincere, too raw, too dangerous to believe. He swallowed. "You think I'm helpless?" Alden's brows furrowed. "No. I think you've had to be strong for far too long." The room was suddenly too warm. Rin stepped back instinctively, but Alden stepped back too, mirroring him, keeping the distance equal, as if to show he would not corner him. "Your wing is secure," Alden said quietly. "But tomorrow, the court will press harder. I need to prepare." He turned toward the door, but paused. Without looking back, he added, "I assigned the Moon Guard wing to you because it's closest to my own chambers. If anything happens, I can reach you in seconds." Rin's pulse skipped. "I'm not a child in need of rescuing." A faint, warm sound, something almost like a laugh, escaped the king. "No," Alden murmured, "you're not." He opened the door, but even the strongest person deserves someone who will stand with them. Rin didn't know what to say, so Alden gave him a final glance, soft, unreadable, and left. The door closed with a quiet click. Rin stared at it long after the king had gone. His lie had unraveled, his life had changed, and the one man he should fear most felt less like a threat and more like a storm he could not look away from. He didn't know whether that terrified him or tempted him. Rin did not sleep. Not even after Alden left the chamber, not even after the palace settled into its midnight hush. The shadows stretched long across the Moon Guard wing, and the faint glow of lanterns cast wavering patterns on the walls. Hours passed. Rin lay awake, listening, to the soft crackle of the fire, to the whisper of wind beyond the balcony, to his own heartbeat, too loud in the silence. The king's words echoed in his mind. I know what it is to have choice taken away. Even the strongest person deserves someone who will stand with them. Why would the king say something like that to him? Why risk himself at all? Rin turned on his side, clutching the blankets. His life had been built on one truth: alphas always want something. Power, control, obedience, submission. But Alden was different, or he appeared to be. The uncertainty unsettled him more than open hostility ever would. Rin rose from the bed and padded silently toward the balcony. Cool night air brushed his face as he stepped outside. The gardens stretched below, moonlit and still. A guard patrolled near the base of the palace wall, alert, steady. Another stood at the entrance to the moon guard wing, unmoving as a statue. Protected. Contained. He wasn't sure which word fit better. Rin tightened the cloak around his shoulders and leaned over the railing. He didn't notice someone else step into the balcony until a quiet voice broke the silence. You're awake. Rin spun around, heart leaping into his throat. Alden stood in the shadows of the balcony doorway. He was dressed in the same simple, night clothes as before, though he had added a cloak to guard against the night chill. His dark hair was tied loosely, a few strands falling across his brow. He looked less like a king of a vast and troubled nation, and more like a man unable to sleep. Rin's voice came out softer than he intended. Your Majesty. Alden stepped fully onto the balcony, letting the moonlight fall across him. You don't need to stand on formality here, he said gently. Not when it's just the two of us. Rin didn't know what to do with that kind of statement. Alden approached the railing beside him but kept a respectful distance. I hoped you were resting, the king said. Tomorrow will be difficult. I couldn't sleep, Rin admitted quietly. Alden nodded, expression understanding. Nor could I. Rin looked at him in surprise. Even kings have sleepless nights, Alden said. His golden eyes shifted toward the gardens, especially kings. Silence stretched between them. Not heavy, but strangely comfortable. Rin glanced at him. Are the nobles still waiting at the gates? Yes, Alden said. Most have retreated to guest estates outside the walls, but their envoys remain. They are expecting answers. And you intend to deny them all? Of course. Rin hesitated. You're making enemies for my sake. For your protection, Alden corrected softly. Rin's throat tightened. But why? Alden turned to face him. Really look at him. In this kingdom, the king said slowly, a fertile Omega is not seen as a person. You know this better than most. Rin looked away. Alden continued. If you had been found 8 years ago, the nobles would have torn the capital apart fighting for you. And if you had survived that, you would have been shackled into a political bond before you turned 16. Rin's fists clenched at his sides. I won't allow them to take your freedom, Alden said. Not while I wear this crown. Rin felt his breath catch, not because of the words, but because Alden's scent, normally controlled so tightly Rin could barely detect it, softened for a moment, warm, protective. Without aggression, it wrapped around Rin like a blanket. Dangerously gentle, Rin pulled back slightly, trying to steady himself. If you protect me this much, they will think you intend to claim me. Alden's jaw tightened. They already think that, he said. And they will be wrong. Unless you ever choose differently. Rin blinked. Choose? That word was not usually afforded to Omegas. Not in this world. Alden turned away again, eyes on the moonlit gardens. I came tonight because I wanted you to know something before the court meets in the morning. Rin's pulse quickened. What is it? Alden looked at him with an expression Rin couldn't decipher. Part resolve, part fear, part something softer he didn't dare name. You are not alone here, Alden said. The words struck Rin like a blow. Not painful, but unraveling something he didn't know was tightly wound inside him. I am not your enemy, Alden continued quietly. Remember that. Even when others try to convince you otherwise. Rin's chest tightened, his voice soft. Why tell me this? Alden's eyes met his. Because you've been forced to survive by expecting the worst of everyone, he said. You shouldn't have to do that anymore. Rin looked away quickly, gripping the railing until his knuckles whitened. Alden watched him for a moment longer, then stepped back toward the doorway. Try to rest, Rin. Rin didn't answer. Before the king left, he paused, almost hesitating. Then he added in a low voice, If anything frightens you tonight, call for me. I'll hear you. Rin's heartbeat stumbled. Alden left the balcony quietly, closing the door behind him. Rin stared out into the night long after he was gone, protected, contained, watched over. For the first time in years, he wasn't sure if he was afraid, or if something inside him was beginning to thaw. Morning came far too soon. Rin had managed only a few hours of restless sleep before sunlight filtered through the gauzy curtains of the moon guard chamber. The palace bells rang softly from the eastern tower, signaling dawn. And with dawn came the court. He washed, dressed in the simple palace garments provided for him, soft, pale fabric that draped elegantly but made him feel exposed, vulnerable, like an ornament. He hated it. When he left his chamber, 2 elite guards immediately straightened. "You will be escorted to the throne hall," the taller guard said. "The king awaits." Rin nodded stiffly. His heartbeat thudded painfully in his ears. The walk through the palace was long and unbearably quiet. Servants stopped to stare. Officials whispered behind fans or narrowed their eyes as he passed. He could feel their judgments, their expectations, their hunger. He was a rarity, a fertile omega, unbonded, newly discovered, and now placed directly under the king's protection. To them, he was less a person than a political catalyst. A spark. A weapon. As they neared the throne room, the muffled roar of voices seeped through the doors. The nobles had arrived, and they were angry. The guards opened the great doors. Light spilled into the corridor. "Enter." Rin stepped forward. The throne hall was completely transformed from the night before. Rows of nobles stood on either side, dressed in elaborate house colors: crimson, sapphire, obsidian, gold. Their retinues filled the galleries above. Advisors, generals, ambassadors. Hundreds of eyes turned toward Rin at once, and the whispers began immediately. "Is that him? So small? 8 years barren, and suddenly fertile. He must have manipulated the diagnosis. No, he's a rare lineage omega. This could change everything." Heat prickled down Rin's spine. He forced his breathing steady. Then he saw Alden. The king sat on his throne, armor polished, cloak sweeping around him like a storm cloud. But his expression changed when his eyes found Rin. The shift was subtle, but unmistakable, tension easing, shoulders loosening, a silent acknowledgement. "You're safe. I see you." Rin didn't know why that made something in his chest tighten. "Bring him forward," Alden commanded. Rin walked through the aisle between the nobles, head held high despite the murmurs. He refused to appear weak, even though every step felt like walking through fire. When he reached the foot of the throne, he halted. Alden gestured for him to rise instead of kneel. Gasps rippled through the hall. "Your Majesty," the Duke of Harrowton barked, stepping forward. "This is highly irregular. A fertile omega, unbonded, cannot be placed in the Moon Guard wing. The law demands..." Alden's gaze sliced toward him. "The law demands the crown protect any unclaimed fertile omega," the king replied. "That is what I am doing. But tradition is not law." Silence fell. Rin exhaled slowly. Alden's presence filled the hall, dismissing the Duke's protest without raising his voice. Another noble, Lady Verena, known for her political cunning, stepped forward with a calculated smile. "Your Majesty," she said sweetly, "surely the court deserves an explanation. Why hide this omega away instead of arranging a bond? There are many alphas here more than willing." Alden stood. The hall froze. He descended the steps one by one until he stood beside Rin. Not in front of him, not looming over him, but beside him. A statement. Rin's heart pounded. "You speak," Alden said to Lady Verena, as though Rin were a commodity to be traded. "He is an omega," she countered. "He is a person." A murmur rippled through the hall. Alden continued, voice deadly calm, "And as a person, he will not be bartered, bonded, used, or pressured. Not by this court, not by anyone." The nobles exchanged tense glances. Several fumed. Others looked at Rin with new interest. A protected omega was even more valuable but far harder to obtain. Lady Verena's eyes narrowed. "Then perhaps the court may speak with him directly." Alden's tone cooled instantly. "No." But Rin inhaled and stepped slightly forward before he could stop himself. "I will speak," he said softly. The hall went still again. Alden turned to him, brow furrowing ever so slightly, surprise and something like concern. Rin lowered his gaze just enough to show respect, not submission. "Your Majesty," he murmured, If I say nothing, they will only press harder. Alden's jaw tightened, but he nodded once. Rin stepped to the center of the hall. Hundreds of eyes locked onto him. His palms were sweating. His heart raced, but he forced his voice steady. I did not deceive the kingdom, he began. I lived quietly. I harmed no one. I sought no power. I wished only to stay untouched by the court's politics. Murmurs, Lady Verena scoffed. Convenient. Rin lifted his head, eyes sharp. Not convenient. Necessary. That silenced her. Rin continued, voice growing stronger. You want to know why I lived as a Barren Omega? Because fertile Omegas in this kingdom are treated as property, as bargaining chips, as wombs. Several nobles stiffened. If the king had not intervened, Rin said, you would not stand here today debating my fate. You would be fighting over who claimed me first. His words hit like thrown daggers. He felt the shift instantly. Many nobles bristled, but others lowered their eyes, unable to refute him. Rin finished quietly. I am not here to be claimed. I am not here to serve your alliances. I am here because I was taken from my home and brought before the king. That is all? The hall was silent. Dead silent. Alden stepped forward again, his presence a shield. You have heard him, the king said. This discussion is over. Rin remains under my protection until further notice. The nobles erupted in protest. Alden raised one hand, and the room obeyed. Utter silence. You may leave, Alden said coldly. The nobles bowed stiffly, some resentful, others calculating, a few genuinely shaken, and began filing out of the hall. When the last noble was gone, the great doors closed. Only Rin and Alden remained. Rin exhaled shakily, the tension leaving him in a rush. Alden turned to him, golden eyes unreadable. You spoke bravely, the king murmured. And boldly. Rin swallowed. Was it too bold? Alden stepped closer, slowly, deliberately, until they were only a breath apart. Not for me, he said quietly, and not for the truth. His gaze softened. You protected yourself today. A pause, and I am proud of you. Rin's heart nearly stopped. Heat rushed to his face. Alden noticed, and quickly stepped back as if giving Rin space he might need. Come, the king said gently. There is something you should see. Rin blinked. See? Alden nodded toward the inner gardens beyond the throne. Your new guardians have arrived. Rin tensed. Guardians? But Alden only offered a faint smile. You'll understand when you meet them. Alden led Rin through the quiet inner corridors of the palace, away from the echoing throne hall, and into the dawn-lit gardens. Mist clung to the stone pathways, softening the world in silver. Rin walked beside the king, pulse unsettled. Guardians? He finally asked. Alden nodded. You'll need protection. Real protection. The nobles will not let today go easily. Rin grimaced. They looked ready to tear me apart. They would have, Alden replied simply. Rin shot him a sideways glance. He didn't ask how the king had stopped them so effortlessly. He suspected Alden could stop armies the same way. They crossed a bridge over a koi pond and reached a secluded courtyard encircled by cherry trees. Alden stopped. They're here. Rin followed his gaze, and froze. Standing beneath the cherry blossoms were 3 men. No, not men. Not entirely. Even at rest, their presence pulsed like distant thunder. Their gazes were sharp, luminous, predatory. Their clothing marked them as elite warriors, but the layered scents that reached Rin were unmistakable. Strong, primal, ancient, and distinctly alpha. Rin's breath hitched. Alden stepped forward. Moon Fang Division, he said, sworn only to the crown. And now, to you? The tallest guardian bowed his head slightly, eyes never leaving Rin. Your Majesty. Omega? Rin startled at being addressed so formally, so intensely. The second guardian, lean and silent, inhaled softly as if memorizing Rin's scent. His golden eyes flickered with something like surprise. The third stepped closer, only a pace, but Rin's knees weakened at the shift of pheromones. Alden noticed instantly and placed a steadying hand at Rin's back. It wasn't intimate, but the warmth of that touch still sent a tremor through Rin's spine. The tallest guardian spoke again. We will guard him with our lives. Rin swallowed. I don't need that level of— You do, Alden said, voice low. Rin's protest died. Alden drew closer, speaking only for him. Nobles will try to approach you. Some will use politics. Others will try— Other methods. His jaw tightened. I won't allow that. Rin looked away, heat crawling up his neck. He wasn't naive. He knew what other methods meant. Why these three? Rin whispered. Alden's lips curved faintly. They are the only alphas in the kingdom disciplined enough to resist an Omega's heat. Rin froze. Heat prickled across his skin. Alden's next words were softer. And the only ones I trust not to covet you. Rin's breath caught. And you? Alden blinked. What about me? You said they wouldn't covet me. A flicker crossed the king's eyes. Surprise, then something deeper. I am king, Alden said quietly. I have no right to covet anything. Rin didn't know why the answer made his chest tighten. Before he could respond, the silent guardian stepped closer. Omega Rin, he murmured, voice like velvet scraped over stone. May I confirm your scent profile? For protective calibration. Rin stiffened. My scent? Alden gave him a reassuring nod. It's necessary for the Moonfang to track you, but they won't touch you. Rin drew a shaky breath. Fine. The guardian leaned in, not touching but close enough that Rin felt the warmth of his breath. He inhaled slowly. Rin's body reacted without permission. His pulse quickened, his skin heated, his scent sharpened faintly in response. The guardian froze. This is dangerous, he murmured. Alden's voice hardened. Explain. The guardian straightened, gaze piercing. He is nearing cycle. Rin nearly stumbled backward. Already? That's impossible. Alden caught his arm before he fell. It makes sense, the king said, voice low and resonant. 8 years of suppression. The shift would happen immediately once your disguise ended. Rin swallowed hard. Panic surged up his throat, heat, and Omega's worst vulnerability. And in the palace, surrounded by alphas, Alden stepped in front of him, blocking the guardian's view. Look at me, the king commanded, gently but firmly. Rin's breath shook as he lifted his gaze. Alden leaned close, voice soft enough that only Rin heard. You will not go through this alone. The words wrapped around Rin like a warm cloak. But the guardian stood ready, tense, sensing the shift in his scent. Alden's hand settled carefully, almost protectively, on the side of Rin's arm. I'll have the royal physician prepare suppressants, the king murmured. And you'll stay in my wing tonight. Rin's eyes widened. Your wing. Alden gave a slow, serious nod. Not for improper reasons. His gaze softened, dangerously so. But because it is the safest place in the kingdom for an Omega in cycle. Rin's heartbeat thundered. He didn't miss the subtle strain in Alden's voice. As if the king was trying very, very hard, not to breathe too deeply around him. The guardians bowed. We will guard his door with our lives, the leader said. Alden turned to them. No one enters my wing tonight except me. Rin flushed, deeply. The guardians nodded, accepting the order without question. Rin whispered, barely audible, is this truly necessary? Alden looked at him, expression solemn, almost tender. For your safety, he said, and my peace of mind. Yes, Rin's pulse stuttered. Alden offered his hand. Come, I'll take you there. Rin hesitated, then placed his hand into the king's. Alden's fingers curled around his with slow, deliberate care, and for one dangerous moment, Rin wondered if the king's restraint was already starting to crack. The corridors leading to the king's private wing were nothing like the rest of the palace. They were quiet, shadowed, guarded not by men in armor, but by carved stone wolves whose eyes glowed faintly with captured moonlight. Rin walked beside Alden in the hush, the scent of approaching heat coiling tighter inside him with every step. His breath had gone shallow without him noticing. His skin felt too warm. Alden noticed everything. Tell me if it becomes too much, the king said, voice low. I'm fine, a lie. But Rin didn't know how to admit the truth without sounding helpless. Alden gave him a sideways look that said he wasn't fooled, but he didn't push. They reached a tall door engraved with a sigil, an enormous wolf crowned with a crescent moon. Alden placed his hand against the carving. The door unlocked with a soft click. Welcome, he said, to my quarters. Rin stepped in, and froze. The king's wing was less a room and more an entire private domain. Soft light, thick carpets. A wide stone hearth flickering with warm flames. Balconies overlooking the moonlit gardens. a scent that was faint but unmistakably Alden's. Deep, steady, powerfully grounding. Rin's pulse jumped. Alden exhaled slowly, as if steadying something inside himself. "You'll stay in the adjoining chamber." He gestured to a doorway off to the side. "It's connected to mine for safety, not for any other reason." Rin flushed despite himself. The king's jaw flexed slightly. Even he felt the tension humming between them. Alden led him farther in. "Sit here, you're overheating." Rin didn't argue. He sank into the soft lounge chair near the fire, letting the warmth hit his face. His body, already sensitive, reacted too easily. His breath hitched. Alden paused nearby, studying him with unsettling intensity. "You're trying to hold your scent back," the king murmured. Rin stiffened. Shouldn't I?" "No," Alden said softly. "Suppressing it will only exhaust you faster. Let your body do what it needs to." Rin looked away, embarrassed. Letting his scent loose around the king felt intimate. Too intimate. Dangerous. Alden crouched slightly so he could meet Rin's eyes. His voice gentled in a way Rin had never heard. "You don't have to be afraid of me." Rin wasn't afraid of Alden hurting him. He was afraid of how easily Alden's presence soothed him, anchored him, pulled him in. As if sensing this, Alden rose and put some space between them, crossing to pour cool water from a crystal decanter. "Drink." "You're overheating faster than expected." Rin took the glass with slightly trembling fingers. Their fingertips brushed. Alden froze, not in shock, but in focus. His eyes sharpened, pupils tightening, a subtle alpha reaction he quickly suppressed. "Sorry," Rin whispered. "You don't need to apologize for existing," Alden said, voice steady again. "Especially not now." Rin sipped the water. The clarity helped. Barely. Suddenly Alden turned toward the doors. The Moonfang Guardians had arrived outside. "You will remain outside until morning," Alden commanded through the thick door. "No one passes." "Yes, Your Majesty." Silence returned. Alden came back to Rin. A careful distance, but close enough to intervene if needed. A subtle shift in the air drew both of their attention. Rin tensed. His scent had shifted. Growing softer, sweeter, unmistakably Omega. Alden inhaled sharply before catching himself and turning away, bracing a hand on the back of a chair. "Your cycle is closer than I thought," he said, voice low and rough-edged. Rin's cheeks burned. "Can't I just take suppressants?" "You will." Alden closed his eyes briefly. "But they take hours to stabilize. Until then, you will stay here. I'll keep the room cold, and I'll stay near enough to intervene if your temperature spikes." Rin swallowed. "Intervene how?" Alden looked over his shoulder. Not with hunger, not with dominance, with restraint. Strained, powerful, and aching. "By keeping you safe from every alpha in this palace," he murmured. A pause. "And sometimes that must include myself." Rin's breath caught. The fire crackled softly. Alden walked past him, retrieving a folded blanket, light, soft, and draped it carefully over Rin's shoulders. His fingers brushed the nape of Rin's neck. Rin's entire body reacted, his breath catching, knees drawing closer together, heartbeat pounding. Alden froze, hand hovering just above Rin's skin, eyes darkening as he felt the ripple of pheromones in the air. Slowly, painfully, slowly, he withdrew his hand. "I'll stay on the other side of the room," he said quietly. "But if you call for me, I'll come." Rin pressed a hand to his chest, trying to steady the uneven beat. "You trust yourself that much?" Rin asked before he realized the words formed. Alden hesitated. "No," he admitted softly, "but I trust my oath more." Rin looked at him. The king stood in the dim light, tall, disciplined, holding himself with a restraint that looked almost painful. His shoulders tight, breath measured, presence powerful enough to steady the room. Rin felt something twist inside him, something frighteningly close to desire. "Alden," Rin whispered. The king's head snapped toward him, and for a heartbeat, neither of them moved. The air between them pulsed, until Alden stepped back sharply as if forcing himself away from gravity itself. "I should prepare the suppressants," he said roughly. "Stay here. Don't wander." He turned toward the corridor connecting their rooms. Rin exhaled shakily. Just before Alden disappeared from view, he stopped and said, so quietly Rin barely heard, "If your heat starts early, don't endure it alone. Call for me." And then he was gone, leaving Rin alone in the dim firelight, heart racing, body warming, scent blooming far too fast. And both of them knowing that if his heat struck in the king's private wing, there would be no one left to stop their instincts from colliding. By the time Alden returned with the vial of suppressants, Rin's scent had changed again. The air in the king's private wing had grown thick with something soft and sweet, a scent that clung to the walls, curled under doorways, and wrapped itself around Alden the moment he stepped inside. He stopped in the doorway. His breath hitched, just once. Rin sat curled forward on the lounge chair, the thin blanket slipping from his shoulder. His skin glowed warm, his lips parted slightly as he struggled to breathe through the growing pressure inside him. Alden felt it instantly, every alpha sense he possessed sharpened at once. "Rin," he said, voice rougher than he meant it to be, "your cycle, when did it shift this far?" Rin pressed a hand to his chest. "It happened fast. Faster than I expected." Alden crossed the room in seconds, placing the vial on the table. "It's too early, the suppressants won't act quickly enough now." Rin shivered. "I can handle it, I always handled it." "No," Alden said, kneeling in front of him. "You endured a muted cycle for 8 years. This is your first true one. You cannot manage it alone." Rin tried to steady his breathing, but the scent spilling from him told the truth. Vulnerable, needy, calling. The king's eyes darkened, his pupils dilating, the alpha in him responding despite the iron grip of his discipline. He dragged in a slow breath through his nose, and immediately had to brace a hand on the floor beside Rin's knee. "Alden?" Rin whispered. Alden stayed still, eyes closed, jaw clenched. "I said I would protect you," the king murmured, breath uneven, "but you are testing every limit I possess." Rin swallowed. Then, "Keep your distance. I can't." The king lifted his head. "Your scent won't let me." Rin felt heat bloom under his skin. Alden reached up carefully, so carefully, and brushed a stray lock of hair from Rin's cheek. Rin trembled. Alden froze, as if the small reaction hit him harder than any battle wound. "Rin," Alden said softly, "if you don't want me here, tell me to leave. I'll walk out. I'll command the guards to take my place. You won't see me again tonight." Rin stared at him. The heat coiling inside him pulsed. His body ached for closeness, for safety, for the one alpha who had treated him like a person, not a trophy. His voice shook. "I don't want you to leave." Alden inhaled sharply. The shift was immediate, protective, possessive, tender. He rose to his feet with controlled urgency and cupped Rin's face gently in both hands. "Then look at me," he said. Rin lifted his gaze. Alden's restraint cracked. His thumb brushed Rin's lower lip, slow and reverent. Rin exhaled shakily, leaning into the touch. Alden's expression twisted, half pain, half longing. "I shouldn't," he whispered. "You're vulnerable. I trust you," Rin whispered back. Alden's breath shuddered. Then he leaned down and kissed him, not a forceful kiss, not dominant. A claiming maid of gentleness, restraint, and quiet desperation. Rin melted into it instantly, hands curling into the king's tunic. His scent flared, soft and sweet and inviting. Alden broke the kiss with a ragged breath, pressing his forehead against Rin's. "If I don't stop now," he whispered, "I won't be able to later." Rin nudged closer, breath warm against Alden's lips. "Then don't stop." Alden's fingers tightened in the fabric of Rin's robe. "Rin, I want this," Rin said, voice trembling but certain. "I want you." That was the breaking point. Alden lifted him gently, effortlessly, and Rin curled against him, burying his face in the king's neck as Alden carried him toward the inner chamber connecting their rooms. Rin's scent enveloped them both, dizzying and intoxicating. The door closed behind them with a soft click. Alden set Rin on the edge of the bed, breathing hard, fighting for control. "Rin," he said, voice low, shaking. "If we continue, there will be consequences, for both of us." Rin reached for him, fingers brushing Alden's collar, eyes warm and shining despite the heat. "Then let there be consequences," Alden's self-control snapped. He leaned down, claiming Rin's mouth again, deeper this time, hungrier, the kiss answering every unspoken ache between them. Rin's hands slid up into the king's hair, pulling him closer. Alden's growl vibrated low in his chest. Not threatening, not dominant, devoted. The firelight dimmed. clothing rustled softly, the heat of their bodies merged in the shadows. And as Alden lowered his forehead to Rin's, breathing his name, the world narrowed to scent and warmth and want. The door closed, the lights dimmed, and the night took them. Rin woke to warmth, not heat, not the feverish, overwhelming pull of his cycle, but a steadier warmth, softer and calmer than he expected. His first clear sensation was breath against his collarbone, his second was an arm around his waist, and his third was the deeply steady heartbeat of the man beside him. Slow, solid, a lullaby in his ear. Rin's eyes opened. Alden lay next to him, still half asleep, his usually disciplined expression softened by rest. Silver dawn light slipped through the curtains, catching on the king's lashes, the faint mark Rin had left on his neck, the quiet contentment that made him look unguarded, for the first time. Rin's breath fluttered. Really? His cheeks heated. Alden stirred at the tiny shift in Rin's scent. Gold eyes opened. Not sharp yesterday's command, not king, not warrior, just Alden. His gaze met Rin's, and for a moment neither spoke. Then Alden's hand, still resting around Rin's waist, tightened, very slightly, as memory returned to him. "You're awake," he murmured, voice low with sleep. Rin managed, "Yes." Alden lifted his head a little, studying Rin's face as if confirming something. "Are you in pain?" Rin quickly shook his head. "No, I'm fine." Alden exhaled softly. Relief, then something like guilt passed through his eyes, and his hand began to withdraw. Rin caught his wrist without thinking. Alden stopped, surprise flickering across his face. "You don't need to pull away," Rin whispered, eyes lowered. Alden hesitated. "You may regret." "I don't," Rin said immediately, surprising even himself with how firm it sounded. Alden's expression changed, something warm and dangerous blooming there. But he kept himself disciplined, even now. "I need to check your temperature," he said after a pause. Rin blinked. "My temperature?" Alden nodded. "Your cycle ended abruptly. That isn't normal. I need to make sure the suppressant took effect." Rin frowned. "It ended because of—" His words died, his face flushed. Alden's ears turned faintly red too, though his composure never wavered. "Yes," he said quietly, "because of us." The room fell quiet. Alden moved carefully, placing the back of his hand against Rin's forehead. Rin's breath skipped, because the touch was tender in a way he had never been touched. Alden's brows knit. "It's lower than I expected." Rin's eyes widened. "Lower, bad?" "No," Alden murmured. "Lower as in, your body may have shifted course." "Shifted?" He meant something else, something more. Rin swallowed. "Alden." Just then a knock sounded sharply on the door. Alden stilled. His scent shifted instantly from warm to dangerous. "Stay in bed," he murmured, voice turning cold and king-like again. Rin nodded, pulling the blanket over himself. Alden stood, pulled on his robe, and opened the door only enough to speak through it. "What is it?" "Your Majesty," the Moonfang leader said from the hall. "The council has convened. They demand to see the Omega immediately." Rin froze. "Immediately?" Alden's jaw tensed. "They do not have that right." "The nobles are in an uproar," the Guardian continued. "They suspect the Omega's heat began last night. They believe you, claimed him." Rin's blood ran cold. "They suspected?" Alden's voice dropped to a lethal quiet. "And who told them this lie?" "Your Majesty," the Guardian said carefully. "They said they can smell it. The Omega's scent is all over this wing." Rin's face flamed. Alden exhaled once through his nose, furious and controlled. "They will not see him. Your Majesty." "I said no." A heartbeat of silence. Then the Guardian tried again, tone heavy with warning. "The nobles say that if the Omega was claimed by the king, the throne may be entering a bond union." Rin's breath hitched so hard it hurt. Alden froze, slowly, very slowly. He turned his head toward Rin. Their eyes met. Rin's heart pounded. A bond union. The mark, the implications. The laws governing a royal Omega. The childbearing expectations. Everything. The Guardian's muffled voice continued. "And if a bond union has begun, they demand verification, immediately, by royal physician." Rin felt the blood drain from his face. Alden closed the door sharply, locking it. Silence thickened. Then he turned to Rin, and his expression was nothing like the king the court knew. It was something older, more protective, more possessive, and threaded with fear. "Rin," he said quietly, "we need to know something." Rin swallowed. "No, what?" Alden approached the bed slowly, sitting beside him. He took Rin's hand in his own, warm, steady. "Your temperature is not just low," Alden murmured. "Your scent is different, mellowed, stabilizing." Rin blinked, meaning. Alden met his eyes. "Meaning your body may have accepted last night as a successful cycle." Rin stared. Then, his breath stuttered. Alden squeezed his hand gently. "Rin," the king said softly, "you might be." The words died between them, but Rin understood. His stomach fluttered. His chest tightened. His world spun. He might be pregnant. The moment Alden spoke the possibility aloud, Rin felt the world tilt under him. Pregnant. He might be. He might. His breath quickened, and Alden immediately shifted closer, steady, but not crowding him. "Rin," the king murmured, voice anchoring. "Breathe." Slowly, Rin pressed a hand to his stomach without realizing it. It felt no different. No sign. No flutter. Nothing but warmth pooled there. A soft, settling warmth that made him dizzy. Alden took his hand gently, grounding him. "We don't know yet," he assured. "The physician will confirm." "Nothing more." Rin swallowed. "But the nobles will not touch you," Alden said, voice turning sharp. "Not while I breathe." A loud bang shook the hall. Rin jumped. Alden's eyes snapped to the door, golden and furious. Another bang. The court was trying to force its way into the private wing. "Your Majesty," one of the guards shouted through the wood, "the council demands the Omega be presented. They claim concealment is an admission of guilt." "Guilt," Alden muttered under his breath, rising to his full height, as if Rin were a stolen artifact rather than a living human. Another bang, something metal scraped the doorframe. They were trying to pry it open. Rin clutched the blanket, heart racing. Alden turned toward him instantly. "It's all right," he said softly, too softly for a king. "They won't break through, and even if they did," his voice sharpened, that deadly edge returning, "I would remove every one of them from this palace before they touched a single hair on you." The banging stopped abruptly. A new voice rose outside, calm, authoritative. "Your Majesty? It is Dr. Barren. I was summoned." Alden's tension eased just slightly. "Only Dr. Barren enters." No one else. A series of protests erupted behind the physician. "You cannot favor him. The kingdom has the right to know." "The Omega may already be." Alden threw open the door just long enough to snarl. "Another word and I will strip every one of you of your titles." The corridor went silent. The physician, a dignified older Omega with cool silver eyes, slipped inside quickly. Alden shut the door behind him. Dr. Barren bowed. "Your Majesty." Omega Rin. Rin flushed at the formal address, clutching the blanket tighter. "I apologize for the chaos," the doctor said gently. "The nobles are volatile." "That's generous," Alden muttered. Dr. Barren turned to Rin. "May I approach?" Rin nodded. The physician knelt beside the bed, his movements gentle and respectful. Nothing invasive. He checked Rin's temperature, pulse, scent markers, and the faint hormonal shifts detectable to trained Omegas. His brows slowly lifted. His expression softened. He sat back on his heels. "Well," Dr. Barren said quietly, "the king was not mistaken." Rin's heart stopped. Alden's face tightened with controlled emotion. The physician continued, voice warm. "You are showing early signs of luteal stabilization, a rare but strong indicator that your body has entered a receptive state." Rin stared. "So I'm—" "Not confirmed," the doctor said quickly, "but the chances are considerably higher than usual." Rin pressed a hand to his mouth, breath trembling. Alden stepped closer instinctively, as if drawn without thinking. "Is he in danger?" "No," Dr. Barren replied. "Quite the opposite. His cycle ended naturally, cleanly. His temperature is stable. His body accepted the end of heat as compatible." The physician did not elaborate. He didn't need to. Rin's face heated painfully. Alden's breath faltered just once. Then, a cruel voice shouted from the hall, "King Alden, if you do not present the Omega, the council will overturn your authority on this matter." Alden's jaw tightened. Dr. Barren looked between them. "They will not relent. They believe the Omega belongs to the kingdom." Rin flinched. Alden's power snapped across the room like a lightning bolt. He belongs to no one. A pause, then softer, almost pained, least of all the council. The physician gave Alden a long, knowing look. Then he bowed again. I will prepare the early detection protocol, but, Your Majesty? Alden lifted his chin. You will have to make a choice before results come. Rin looked up sharply. Choice? Dr. Heron folded his hands. The nobles will demand public verification, and if a pregnancy is suspected, they will insist Rin be placed in the royal nursery wing for protection. Rin blanched. That wing was a gilded prison for pregnant Omegas. Alden's expression turned murderous. That will never happen. Dr. Heron nodded. Then you must declare now whether Rin is under your personal bond protection. Rin's heart pounded. Be bond, Alden inhaled slowly, deeply, unsteadily. If I claim you publicly, he said carefully, the nobles will have no authority over you. You would be under my protection alone. Rin swallowed. And if you don't, Alden's voice cracked for the first time, then they will take you from me. Silence fell like a blade. Rin's breath trembled. Dr. Heron stood. I will give you a moment. He stepped to the far side of the chamber and waited quietly. Alden sank to one knee before Rin. The king kneeling just for him? Rin, he said, voice low, I will not force you. I never will. But the decision must be yours. Rin held his gaze. Alden's eyes shone, not with dominance, not with possession, but something painfully close to fear, fear of losing him. Rin's throat tightened. If Alden claimed him, if the court recognized them, if a pregnancy were real, if their lives became intertwined beyond return. Slowly, Rin reached out. His fingers brushed Alden's cheek. The king's breath stilled. Rin whispered, Alden, I choose you. Alden closed his eyes. When he opened them again, they burned like molten gold. He rose to his feet, turned to the door, and said with a voice that shook the palace, Prepare the throne hall. I claim Omega Rin under the crown. The throne hall doors slammed open with a thunder that echoed through every marble pillar. Dozens of nobles spun around, already shouting, Your Majesty, you cannot hide him. An unregistered fertile Omega is a state risk. He must be inspected. Alden did not bother to walk. He strode, every step sharp, decisive, radiating a dominance that silenced entire rows of aristocrats. Behind him, Rin, wrapped in a dark velvet cloak Alden had thrown over him, protected from greedy eyes, shielded from hungry scent glands, but known, visible, chosen. The hall froze, whispers stabbed the air. That is him. 8 years Barren? Impossible. The king brought him here, not the guards. Is the king protecting him? Alden mounted the throne platform with one hand lightly steadying Rin at his back. He sat. Rin remained standing beside him, silent, breath tight, fingers gripping the cloak's edge. The nobles bowed automatically, fear, not respect. Alden's voice carried like steel. Court of Elders, Council of Nobles, hear my decree. Silence deepened. Rin swallowed. Alden rose. His gaze swept the hall with quiet threat. Omega Rin, he said clearly, is under my personal protection. A wave of shock rippled through the hall. He is not to be touched. He is not to be claimed. He is not to be inspected, monitored, or questioned by any council, guard, or noble without my presence. Gasps. Outrage. That is unprecedented. You cannot shield an Omega from royal protocol. What are you hiding? What is he hiding? Is he fertile? Is he— The last voice was cut off by a furious growl. Alden didn't raise his chin. He didn't shout. He simply stepped forward. The temperature in the room dropped like winter had swept through. You are asking, Alden said slowly, if he is pregnant. Rin stiffened. Half the court looked like they might faint from excitement. The rest looked ready to riot. And if he were? Alden continued, voice soft and lethal. What then? Silence. Deadly, suffocating silence. Nobles exchanged frantic looks. The air, one whispered, power. The Omega. This changes everything. A senior counselor forced himself forward, breathing hard. Your Majesty, the throne cannot be destabilized by secrecy. If the Omega is fertile, if there is even a possibility, the kingdom must secure. Alden's power rolled out like a wave, shaking dust from the pillars. Secure? He repeated coldly. You mean imprison? The older noble swallowed. For the kingdom's safety, Alden's voice turned deadly. Rin is not a vessel, he is not a womb, he is not a political tool. His gaze sharpened. He is mine by my choice, and no one will question his worth or his body ever again. Rin's breath caught. The counselor stuttered. Your Majesty, this is unprecedented. Alden took one step down the dais. Write it into precedent, then. The noble shrank back. Alden continued. Tone absolute. I claim Omega Rin under the crown. Any challenge is treason. The word fell like a blade. Treason. Even the boldest nobles went pale. Outside the hall, distant crowds erupted, the news spreading like wildfire. Rin's knees nearly gave out as relief and terror crashed together. Alden turned back to him, lowering his voice so only Rin could hear. Breathe, he murmured, thumb brushing lightly against the back of Rin's hand, where no one could see. Rin stared up at him. You didn't have to go this far. Alden's expression softened in a way he never allowed in public. I did. Rin's throat tightened. The council broke into frantic whispers, trying to reassemble their political world now that the king had shattered it. At last, the eldest of the elders stepped forward. If the king has claimed the Omega, she said heavily, then we demand only one thing. Alden's body went rigid. Rin's heart stopped. What? The king asked quietly. Do you think you're entitled to demand? The elder swallowed. Proof, she said. Rin's blood ran cold. Proof of what? Alden asked, voice dangerously calm. That the Omega, she hesitated, choosing her words with surgical precision, bonded with you willingly. Rin went still. The nobles whispered sharply. You, Rin choked. They want us to. Alden's jaw tensed. They want to know, the elder said firmly, that the king did not force an unwilling Omega into claim. Alden said nothing. The room waited. Rin's pulse hammered painfully in his ears, to prove willingness, to show intention. There was only one possible method the council could accept: recognition scent, a public display of mutual scent marking, not intercourse, not explicit, but intimate, deeply intimate, a declaration heard and smelled by every alpha in the hall. Rin whispered, Alden, Alden reached for his hand, open not pulling. You choose, he murmured. Rin looked at him, looked at the hall, looked at the world that wanted to own him. Then he stepped forward and said, I will do it. A collective gasp swept the room. Alden's eyes widened, the faintest, quickest flicker of emotion. Pride, reverence, relief, possessive heat. He moved to Rin slowly, deliberately, giving him every chance to withdraw. Rin did not. He lifted his chin. Alden leaned close. His breath brushed Rin's throat. The world held still. When the king's scent touched his skin, warm, deep, unmistakably his, Rin felt his entire body answer. Not fear, not duty, but yes. The nobles trembled, the elders bowed, and the kingdom changed. The moment Alden's scent touched Rin's skin, the reaction was immediate, not from Rin, though his knees did nearly give out, but from the hall. Nobles gasped. A few alphas staggered back in shock. Several Omegas instinctively bowed their heads. The throne hall rippled with instinctive submission. The bond scent wasn't just a declaration. It was a claim of the highest rank, unmistakable to every alpha and Omega present. Alden straightened, hands already lifting to shield Rin as whispers tore through the chamber. He scented him, the king's chosen Omega. The royal line might be secured, then the rumors, he could be fertile. The last whisper sent a dangerous tremor through the air. Alden's eyes flashed gold. He leaned down, whispering in Rin's ear. We're leaving. Rin nodded quickly, dizzy from the scent and the stares and the rapid thudding of his own heart. But before they could reach the door, a new voice cut through the hall. Smooth, low, controlled. Leaving so soon, Your Majesty. Alden froze. Rin turned and saw a figure he did not recognize. A man in deep navy robes, long dark hair tied with a metal clasp shaped like a hawk's beak. Eyes sharp and unreadable. He bowed, but only slightly. Lord Kalis Valor. Alden's expression darkened. Of all nobles, this was the one Rin sensed Alden did not want here. Kalis straightened, voice silky. It seems congratulations are in order. A royal Omega. A possible heir. The council will be thrilled. His gaze flicked to Rin. Rin felt something icy slide down his spine. Not desire, not alpha aggression. Calculation. Kalis smiled politely at Alden, but there was steel beneath it. Such fortune for the crown. And yet, curious, a previously barren Omega suddenly becomes fertile. Convenient timing. Alden stepped in front of Rin so quickly it nearly startled the court. Choose your next words carefully, the king growled. Kalis raised a brow. Only expressing concern for the kingdom. You never express anything without a reason, Alden shot back. Rin blinked. The whole hall seemed to hold its breath. Clearly, this man was more than a noble. As if sensing Rin's confusion, the elder council leader stepped forward. Omega Rin, she said quietly. Lord Kalis is head of House Valor. The faction opposing the crown's right to choose an Omega without council approval. Rin stiffened. Kalis's gaze softened. Too softly, you see? It is nothing personal. Unlike some, I do not doubt your character. Rin felt his stomach knot. It sounded like praise, but it wasn't. Not at all. Alden's low growl rumbled behind him. That's enough. Kalis folded his hands behind his back. Not quite. You see, your majesty, an unregistered Omega of unknown lineage? Rin flinched. Kalis continued smoothly. Bonded to the king during a volatile political climate. Alden's jaw clenched, while whispers of impending war grow stronger in the north. The hall went silent. War? Rin stared. Kalis smiled thinly. It seems the king did not tell you everything, Omega Rin. Alden moved as if to strike him. Immediately, guards surged forward, every faction ready to draw blood. Before chaos could erupt, a new voice rang out. Enough! Everyone turned. A woman entered the hall, tall, powerful, wearing the uniform of the royal commander, silver armor gleaming under torchlight, short snowy hair braided behind her, a scar across her strong jaw. General Salen Kyre. Rin had heard rumors of her, a general so formidable even alphas hesitated near her. A beta with the strength of a regiment. She strode between Alden and Kalis like cutting a path through fire. Save your power struggles for the border, she snapped. The king's claim is law. Kalis tilted his head. The army should not meddle in royal succession. Salen smiled humorlessly. And nobles should not meddle in matters beyond their intellect. Several nobles gasped. Alden's tension eased, just slightly. General Salen turned to Rin, bowing with crisp precision. Omega Rin. I am sworn to your protection as long as the king claims you. Rin blinked, surprised. Salen straightened and nodded to Alden. Your Majesty. The border reports arrived this morning. He should hear them. Alden's expression hardened. Now? Her eyes flickered to Kalis. Before someone else twists them. Kalis's polite smile did not falter, but his eyes sharpened like blades. Alden put a hand on Rin's back. We're leaving. This time General Salen accompanied them. As Rin stepped out of the throne hall, whispers erupted like wildfire. A war? Now? With a pregnant Omega? House Valor will use this. The king chose an Omega during crisis. Rin felt the world tilt again. Alden's grip on him tightened protectively. Rin finally whispered, Alden, what's happening at the border? General Salen answered without hesitation. Spies. Armies gathering. Northern tribes uniting under a new leader, and rumors that they seek. She hesitated. Alden's jaw set. Rin felt his pulse spike. What do they seek? Rin asked. Salen looked him directly in the eye. The same thing the nobles seek. Rin inhaled sharply. An heir, Salen said quietly. A royal Omega, a fertile one. She held his gaze. They are preparing for war, because they believe you exist. Rin felt the floor vanish beneath him. Alden pulled him close. We will keep you safe, the king vowed. But Rin knew. Safety had vanished the moment Alden claimed him. Now the entire world wanted him. The corridors of the palace felt colder than usual, not because the temperature had changed, but because everything had. Rin walked between Alden and General Salen, feeling the weight of every whispered rumor trailing behind them like ghosts. When they reached the private war room, the heavy oak doors shut, sealing them away from the court's chaos. Alden exhaled, tension pouring off him. Salen laid a stack of coded messages on the table. Your Majesty, the northern scouts returned at dawn. Rin's breath hitched. He looked between them. suddenly aware that this was no longer court gossip. Alden motioned for Rin to sit beside him, not behind, beside, as an equal. General Salin opened the top report. The northern tribes have united under a single banner, she said. Something that hasn't happened in over a century. Alden stiffened. Who leads them? Salin hesitated. Prince Kyle of the Arctic Line. Rin blinked. Prince? I thought the northern tribes had no royalty. They didn't, Salin replied. Until now. Alden grimaced. Kyle. A powerful alpha, strong enough to unite warriors who hate each other. Rin swallowed. And he's coming here? To attack us? No. Salin's voice lowered. Worse, she held up the next report. He's coming to claim an Omega. Rin froze. Alden's hand slid onto Rin's thigh under the war table, gentle, reassuring, instinctive, before he could think better of it. Salin continued, Kale has spread word that he is searching for the lost fertile Omega of royal scent. A chill ran down Rin's spine. Salin tapped the parchment. He claims the North has a right to any Omega whose scent is not bound at birth. Rin felt faint. Bound at birth. He had no such registry. He'd always been outside the system. Alden's voice was dangerously low. He will not touch Rin. Salin nodded. My thoughts exactly, but how does he know about me? Rin whispered. No one answered. Salin pulled out another scroll, sealed with wax bearing an unfamiliar crest, ice blue with a silver wolf. This arrived before dawn, she said. Alden broke the seal. His eyes darkened as he read. He knows Rin's name, Alden said quietly. Rin's blood went cold. What? He whispered. How? Alden held up the letter so Rin could see. The script was elegant, sharp, confident. I congratulate the king on finding the Omega he hides. Do not mistake your claim for permanence. The North honors old blood, and the Omega Rin belongs to us by right. Kale. Rin's heart pounded so hard he felt sick. Alden, why would he think I belong to the North? Alden hesitated. Salin answered for him. Because you smell like them. Rin stared. What? Salin crossed her arms. Your scent, your heat cycle, your hormonal pattern. They don't match Southern Omegas. Rin shook his head. I'm not from the North. I grew up in the capital. Alden turned to him gently. Rin, do you remember anything from before the orphanage? He inhaled shakily. A faint memory flickered, too vague to grasp. Snow, wind, someone calling his name. He shook it off. No. Nothing clear. Salin grimaced. Kale believes you're the missing heir to one of their lost Omega clans. Rin felt the world tilt. H-hair? Alden stood abruptly, pacing. It doesn't matter what they believe. Rin is safe here. Salin gave him a pointed look. Are you certain? Alden's jaw clenched. Rin whispered, Why now? Why come after me now? Alden finally answered. Because your heat flared. Hard, strong. Strong enough that even far northern scouts could have sensed echoes of it. Rin stared at him in horror. My heat. Traveled that far. Alden softened. Rare Omegas have heat signatures powerful enough to carry. You! Maybe one. Rin sunk into the chair, trembling. If he was that rare. If Kyle was coming for him. If the nobles already wanted him. A war could start because of me, Rin whispered. Alden stopped pacing. He cupped Rin's face, tilting it up gently. Not because of you, he said softly. Because of what others would do to possess you. Rin's breath caught. Salin cleared her throat. There is more. Alden looked at her sharply. Salin, it's necessary, she insisted. He must know. Rin's hands shook. Know what? The general laid out a second sealed document. This arrived an hour after Kyle's letter. Alden froze. Rin watched his face drain of color. What is it? Rin asked, voice barely audible. Alden didn't answer. Salin did? It's from your mother. Rin felt like he'd been struck. My mother is dead, he whispered. Salin's eyes softened. So the orphanage said, but this letter disproves that. Rin's hands trembled violently as Alden passed him the letter. The seal was unlike anything he'd seen. 2 intertwining crescents. His fingertips tingled. When he opened it, the handwriting hit him like a physical blow. Rin. If you read this, they found you. I'm sorry. I was never meant to leave you in the South. You are not safe. Your birthright is waking. And the world will come for you now. Rin's vision blurred. Birthright. Waking. Not safe. Alden knelt in front of him, hands steadying Rin's shaking ones. "Rin," he murmured, "look at me." Rin looked. Alden's gaze was fierce and unwavering. "You are not alone," Alden said. "You are not a pawn. You are mine to protect," Salen added. "And mine." Rin's breath hitched. Alden's hand slid over his. "We will uncover the truth together." Rin nodded, barely able to breathe. "So what do we do?" he whispered. Alden stood, his eyes burned with a king's fury and a mate's devotion. "We prepare," he said, "for war, and for the prince who thinks he has a claim on you." Alden moved closer. "Because he's wrong," he whispered, "dead wrong." The warning bells of the palace tower rang long before sunrise. 3 sharp tolls, an alarm reserved for only 2 things: war, or a foreign royal crossing the border. Rin jolted awake in Alden's private chambers, heart pounding. Alden was already up, fastening the clasp of his cloak, eyes burning with barely contained fury. Salen burst in a moment later. "Your Majesty," she said, breathless. "The Northern Army crossed the White Ridge. They're heading straight for the capital." Rin felt the blood leave his face. Alden swore sharply and turned to Rin. "Stay close to me today, no matter what happens." Rin nodded, moving to stand, but Salen raised a hand. "There's more." Alden's expression darkened what now Salen glanced at Rin before speaking carefully. "A Southern Omega has arrived at the gates, claiming the title of Royal Intended." Rin blinked. "Royal Intended?" Alden froze. Rin's stomach twisted. This title, he'd never heard it before. "Alden," Rin whispered. "What does that mean?" Alden exhaled slowly. "It's an ancient title, an Omega chosen by the council as a political mate for the king." Rin's heart dropped. "Chosen, instead of me." Salen scowled. "The council dug her out of some noble bloodline, hoping to replace Rin before Kael gets here." Alden cursed again under his breath. Rin clenched his hands. "Who is she?" Salen motioned to the guards outside. A moment later the doors opened, and she walked in, graceful, tall, elegant, wrapped in pale silk. Her hair shining like polished copper, eyes warm amber. Her scent hit Rin instantly, sweet, floral, an Omega scent meant to be tempting. She bowed deeply to Alden. "Your Majesty," she said. "I am Lady Marianne of House Lear, first-blooded Omega, registered fertile. And, forgive my boldness, your rightful mate." Rin's breath caught. Alden stiffened, voice cold as ice. "You are not my mate." Marianne straightened slowly, eyes shimmering with carefully crafted innocence. "But I should be," she murmured. "I was selected since childhood, and the kingdom knows this." Rin flinched. Marianne turned to him, expression soft. "You must understand," she said gently. "I have nothing against you, but you are unregistered, unknown. The North claims you, and if war comes..." Alden cut in sharply. "Your concern is unnecessary. Rin is under my protection." Marianne's eyes flickered, but she smiled sweetly. "Of course, Your Majesty, but consider this: if Prince Kael defeats our borders, your claim might not be enough to keep Rin safe. Or, alive." Rin's pulse spiked. She stepped closer to Alden. Too close. Softly, intimately, she whispered, "I can strengthen your throne, Your Majesty. I can give you legitimate heirs. I can calm the nobles." Alden stepped back. "Rin is the one I chose," he said firmly. "My decision is final." Marianne's smile barely faltered, but her eyes sharpened with something cold. "Then I will serve however I can," she said sweetly. "Even if that means watching you walk into ruin." She bowed again and exited the chamber with regal grace. The doors shut. Rin finally released the breath he'd been holding. "You're not actually considering her, are you?" Rin whispered. Alden rounded on him instantly. "Rin, look at me." Rin lifted his eyes. Alden stepped close enough their foreheads nearly touched. "There is no one else," Alden said. "Not the council, not Kael, not Marianne." Rin swallowed hard. "But she's registered." "I'm not..." "Rin," Alden said, voice deep with sincerity. "Your bloodline might be more powerful than hers, more powerful than any Omega in the kingdom." Salen cleared her throat from the corner. "And about that..." Both turned to her. Salen pulled a parchment from her belt, wrinkled, smudged with dirt, sealed with a dark wax. "This was intercepted," she said. "From inside the palace." Alden frowned. "Intercepted?" "It was headed toward the Northern Scouts," Salen said grimly. "From a traitor." Rin felt his skin crawl. Alden broke the seal. Rin could read the first line over his shoulder, to Prince Kyle. The Omega you seek is here. Unprotected. Vulnerable. Rin's heart dropped into his stomach. Alden's hands tightened so hard the parchment crumpled. Ceylin continued, "There's more." The traitor described Rin's appearance, Alden's scent marking, the political rift, even rumors of potential pregnancy. Rin felt faint. "Who would?" Rin whispered. "Who inside the palace would betray us?" Ceylin set down another item, a ring, silver, elegant, emblazoned with a hawk's beak. Alden stared as if stabbed. "Valor," he growled. Rin's breath stopped. "Lord Kaelis?" Rin whispered. Alden's voice was pure venom. "He's feeding information to KL. He wants the North to attack. He wants this kingdom to fall apart so he can take power." Ceylin nodded grimly. "And he wants Rin handed over to the North before Kyle even arrives." Rin shuddered. Alden stepped to him. "You're shaking." Rin forced a breath. "Alden, they're all coming for me. Marianne from the south, Kale from the north, the nobles, Kaelis." Alden cupped Rin's face with both hands, voice low but unbreakable. "Let them come," he murmured. "Let every one of them come." Rin trembled. Alden leaned closer. "I will burn the world before I let them take you." Ceylin rolled out a map. "Then we start preparing. Because the first northern strike will reach the capital within 3 days." Rin swallowed. Alden squeezed his hand. "Stay with me," he whispered. Rin nodded. "I will." The war room emptied out, leaving only Alden and Rin behind. Ceylin closed the heavy doors behind her, giving them privacy, and for the first time in hours, Rin felt the enormity of everything crash into him all at once. The North marching for him, a southern Omega chosen to replace him, a traitor sending messages to Kyle, a secret mother who was still alive. Rin's breath trembled. Alden saw the moment Rin's strength faltered. He crossed the room in 2 steps, hands lifting to Rin's face, thumbs brushing his cheeks. "Hey," Alden murmured, voice rough. "Look at me." Rin looked up, and the concern in Alden's eyes shattered whatever defenses he had left. "I'm sorry," Rin whispered, voice shaking. "Everything is happening because of me." Alden cut him off, sharp and tender. "Everything is happening around you, not because of you." Rin shook his head. "Kyle wants me. The nobles want to use me. Marianne." Alden's expression hardened for a moment at her name. "She wants a throne, not me," he said firmly. "And the traitor?" Rin whispered. "He wants chaos." Alden stepped closer, his forehead lowering until it gently rested against Rin's. "But I want you," he said softly. "I choose you. Only you." Rin felt warmth bloom in his chest, so strong it was almost painful. "Alden," he whispered, voice nearly breaking. The king's breath hitched. He lifted Rin's chin with gentle fingers. "Are you frightened?" Alden asked. "Yes," Rin admitted. "But I don't want distance from you. Not now." Alden exhaled a shaky breath like he'd been holding it for hours. He slid a hand to the back of Rin's neck, drawing him closer. "Rin, tell me if you want space, or if you want—" His voice dipped lower, rich and warm. "Me." Rin didn't hesitate. "I want you." Alden's eyes darkened with a heat that made Rin's breath catch. Slowly, so slowly Rin thought he might lose his mind, Alden pressed his lips to his. It was soft at first, a breath, a promise, a question. Rin answered immediately, leaning into him, fingers curling into Alden's cloak as he kissed him back. Desperate, trembling, needing the closeness, the warmth, the certainty. Alden inhaled sharply against his lips and deepened the kiss, one hand sliding to Rin's waist, the other gripping the back of his neck as if grounding him. Rin gasped softly when Alden pulled him closer, so close Rin could feel every line of his body through the layers of fabric. "Alden," Rin whispered against his mouth. Alden's voice was a low growl of restraint. "If we start," he murmured, "I won't be able to keep distance between us." Rin's fingers tightened on his cloak. "I don't want distance." Alden's breath trembled. He kissed Rin again, this time deeper, hungrier, all the fear and longing and devotion he'd been holding in poured into Rin's mouth. Rin melted against him, overwhelmed by the warmth of Alden's body. His scent, the way the king held him like Rin, was the only thing keeping him sane. Alden's hand slid to the small of Rin's back, pulling him flush against him. Rin gasped, heat curling through him, a soft ache blooming low in his belly. Alden swallowed hard at the sound. "If you keep making sounds like that," Alden whispered hoarsely, "I won't be able to stop myself." Rin's cheeks flushed hot. "I don't want you to stop." Alden groaned, a deep low sound that made Rin shiver, and he captured Rin's mouth again, kissing him with an intensity that stole air from the room. They stumbled back toward the bed, Rin's hands in Alden's hair. Alden's breath hot against his throat. "Alden," Rin murmured, voice full of want. Alden lifted his head. Golden eyes blazing Rin, he whispered, "Let me have you." Rin's heart pounded. He nodded. Alden brushed a soft kiss over his lips, gentle before the storm. Then Alden leaned close, breath warm against Rin's ear. "Then tonight," he whispered, voice dark and tender, "you're mine." The door shut with a soft thud. The candles dimmed, their shadows intertwined, and the night swallowed the rest, fade to black. Rin woke slowly. Warmth. That was the first thing he noticed. Gentle, heavy warmth draped over him like a protective cloak. The second thing he noticed was the scent. Alden's scent. Strong, steady, unmistakable, settled around him like a claim, yet soft enough that Rin felt cherished, not trapped. He blinked and realized he wasn't lying on his side anymore. He was lying on someone. A firm chest rose under his cheek. A hand, large, warm, rested on Rin's hip, possessive in its sleep but gentle. "Alden." Rin's breath caught in his throat. Last night. Memories came back not as images but as sensations. Alden's hands on his waist, his deep voice murmuring his name, soft gasps against shared skin. Rin's fingers curling in Alden's hair, the way Alden held him afterward, closer than he'd ever been held in his life. Heat rushed into Rin's cheeks. He shifted slightly. Alden's arm instantly tightened around him. "Stay," the king murmured, voice still thick with sleep. "Just stay a little longer." Rin froze, startled. Alden wasn't even fully awake, yet his instinct was to hold him closer. "Alden?" Rin whispered shyly. Alden's eyes opened slowly, golden, soft, unusually unguarded. He looked at Rin like he wasn't sure he was real, and then he smiled. An expression Rin had never seen from him, not even once. Warm, relieved, and happy. "Good morning," Alden whispered, brushing his thumb across Rin's cheek. Rin's heart fluttered helplessly. "Good morning," he whispered back. Alden pulled him up gently until Rin was lying half on his chest, half supported by his arm. "Did I hurt you?" Alden asked softly. Rin's breath hitched at the question, far more intimate than anything else they'd said. He shook his head, hiding his face a little. "No," he murmured. "You were gentle." Alden exhaled a relieved breath. "Good," he murmured, tilting Rin's chin up to press a lingering kiss to his forehead. Rin felt heat rush through him at how tender it was, not the passionate hunger of last night. Something deeper, warmer, dangerously soft. "Alden," Rin whispered. "Do you regret?" "No." The answer was immediate, firm. A hand moved to cradle Rin's jaw. "I will never regret touching you," Alden said quietly. "Only waiting so long." Rin's breath trembled. Alden leaned in and kissed him, slow this time, savoring, lips brushing with sleepy affection. Rin melted helplessly into him, returning the kiss without thinking, hands clutching the front of Alden's robe. When they broke apart, both were breathing softly. Alden rested his forehead against Rin's. "I want you here every morning," he murmured, voice low, sincere, "waking up with you in my arms. I didn't know how much I needed it." Rin's face reddened. Alden, I'm not sure if..." A knock pounded on the chamber door. Alden stiffened immediately, instinct switching from lover to king in an instant. "Your Majesty!" Salen's voice came from the hall. "Urgent news." Alden cursed under his breath. He gently slid Rin under the covers and adjusted the blanket over him, pressing a quick kiss to Rin's temple. "Stay in bed," he whispered. "It's early. And no one else comes in here without my command." Rin nodded, pulling the covers up shyly. Alden opened the door a crack. Salen bowed, then spoke quickly. "Your Majesty, the northern armies are closer than expected. And there's more." Alden's jaw tightened. "Speak." Salen hesitated. "A messenger arrived from the southern palace. Lady Marianne is on her way to the capital, and she She claims to be carrying your heir. The silence was absolute. Behind Alden, Rin's heart stopped, his stomach twisted, something sharp clenched painfully in his chest. Alden's aura darkened into something lethal. That, he said, voice cold as ice, is a lie. Salen swallowed. There is also this. She held out a sealed letter. From Prince Kael. Alden snatched it and broke the seal. Rin watched Alden's shoulders tense. He's formally requesting a parley, Alden said, to discuss the return of what was stolen. Rin's breath caught. He didn't need to ask what that meant. Kael wanted him. Alden folded the letter with careful, frightening calm. Prepare my generals, he told Salen. We're holding council immediately. Salen bowed. Yes, your majesty. The door closed. Alden turned back to Rin. His expression softened the moment their eyes met. He crossed the room and sat beside the bed, taking Rin's hand in his. Rin, he whispered, lifting Rin's knuckles to his lips. No matter who lies, no matter who demands, I will not let anyone take you. Rin swallowed hard, eyes stinging. Alden leaned close, brushing their foreheads together. You're mine, he murmured, and I'll fight an entire kingdom to protect that. Rin trembled. And for the first time the thought wasn't terrifying. It was comforting. Alden had never called an emergency council this early. The generals, advisors, and Salen gathered in the war hall. Rin stood beside Alden, not behind him, not hidden, but at his side, where the king insisted he belonged. Whispers rippled through the table. The Omega. He's here? The king's protecting him openly. Alden raised a hand and silence fell immediately. The North marches under Prince Kael, Alden announced. Their demands are unacceptable. We will negotiate, but we do not bow. He placed a steadying hand on Rin's back, a quiet reassurance. A silent claim. Salen spread a map on the table. The armies will reach the border in 1 week. If Kael truly wants a parley, he may hold it at the disputed valley. Then I'll go, Alden said. The council erupted. Your Majesty, it's a trap. Kael wants to provoke you. He wants the Omega. Alden's jaw tightened. I am aware. But avoiding the meeting will give him justification to advance. If a parley keeps us from war, I will attend. Rin grabbed Alden's sleeve. You can't go alone. Alden looked down at him, and Rin's heart squeezed at the fear flickering in his eyes. I wasn't planning to, Alden murmured. You and Salen will remain safe in the capital. Rin shook his head, voice soft but steady. Alden, I won't hide anymore, not from Kael, not from my past, not even from my heat. Alden froze. The room went silent. Rin swallowed. I'll go with you, to the valley. I'll face him. Alden's expression twisted painfully. Rin. If Kael sees you. I'm tired of being the reason everyone else fights, Rin whispered. This is my chance to end it. Alden cupped his cheek. You are not a bargaining piece. I won't risk you. Rin met his gaze firm and clear. You'll protect me. I trust you. Alden inhaled shakily. Then he nodded. Just once. Then we go together. The valley was cold. Cold enough to bite into the skin. Cold enough to twist breath into mist. Soldiers from both kingdoms stood in tense lines, watching one another with suspicion. In the center a tent stood. A neutral space for diplomacy. Alden stepped forward, Rin at his side, Salen 1 step behind, and across the field, Prince Kael approached, tall, graceful, a face carved with sadness and fury, and eyes that locked onto Rin with a possessive, aching desperation. Rin, Kael breathed as he reached them. His voice cracked. You're alive. Alden stepped subtly in front of Rin. State your business, Alden said coldly. Kael ignored him. His eyes stayed on Rin. He looked older than Rin remembered. Tired, anguished, half-broken. You're not Barren, Kael whispered, voice trembling. You lied, you hid. All these years. Rin stepped forward, gently slipping out from behind Alden. Kael, he said quietly. Kael's breath shuddered. For a moment, emotion cracked through him. Hope, longing, grief. You were supposed to come home, Kael whispered. I searched for you until I bled. And this king, he shot Alden a venomous look, stole you. No one stole me, Rin said. Kael stiffened. I left, Rin continued, because I didn't want to be caged, to be treated like a vessel for heirs. I wanted to live. Kael swallowed hard, expression twisting painfully. And with him, you can? Rin nodded, voice soft. Yes. Kyle closed his eyes as if the answer shattered him. Alden's expression remained unreadable, but his hand brushed the back of Rin's lightly, an unspoken reassurance. Kyle breathed out slowly. Then there's nothing to negotiate, he said hoarsely. You've chosen. I have, Rin whispered. Kyle lifted his gaze, and for the first time there was acceptance in it. Then I will withdraw my armies, he said, on one condition. Alden's aura coiled tightly. Name it. Let me speak to him alone. Alden bristled immediately. No. Rin touched Alden's hand. It's okay, Rin murmured. He won't hurt me. Alden looked unconvinced, but after a long moment, he stepped back. Kyle let out a shaky breath as Rin approached him. Rin, he whispered. I wanted to give you everything. I know, Kyle's voice trembled. I'm sorry I failed you. Rin's eyes softened. You didn't fail me, we just weren't meant for each other. Kyle's shoulders sagged, slowly, hesitantly. He reached out and brushed a strand of hair from Rin's face, a gesture of farewell. Be happy, Kyle whispered. At least let me see that. Rin smiled gently. I will. Kyle stepped back, and with a single wave of his hand he signaled his generals. The northern flags lowered, their armies began to withdraw. The war was over. The palace gates opened to cheering. Rin walked beside Alden, relief and peace settling into him like sunlight warming his bones. But the moment they were alone in the hallway, Alden immediately pulled Rin into his arms, holding him tight. Don't ever do that again, Alden whispered, voice shaking. I thought I'd lose you. Rin melted into him, arms slipping around Alden's waist. You didn't, he murmured. I'm here. With you. Alden's breath hitched. Rin, he whispered. I can't imagine a future without you. Stay by my side. Rin lifted his head. Alden, are you? Alden cupped Rin's face gently, reverently. Marry me, he said. Be my queen. Rin's heart stopped. And then, it began to race. Alden. The king leaned closer, resting his forehead against Rin's. I don't need a political union. I don't need a perfect Omega bride. I only need you. Rin's eyes filled. He pressed his face into Alden's chest, voice trembling. Yes, he whispered. I'll stay. I'll be with you. Alden exhaled shakily and kissed him. Soft, slow, full of promise. A kiss that sealed the future. Their future. The palace glowed with lantern light. Every banner fluttered with Alden's crest entwined with a new symbol. White lilies intertwined with golden threads chosen by Rin himself. Today was not a day of war, not a day of fear. It was a day of union. Rin stood before the mirror, while Salen adjusted the final clasp on his ceremonial robes. The outfit was simple but radiant, layers of pale silver and soft cream, embroidered with tiny lilies. His hair was tied half up, adorned with a small crown Alden had commissioned for him. You look beautiful, Salen said softly. Rin flushed. I look like someone else, he murmured. Salen shook her head. No, this is still you, just finally allowed to shine. Before Rin could answer, a knock came. The doors opened, and Alden froze in the doorway. For a long moment he simply stared, like he couldn't breathe. Like Rin wasn't just his future spouse, but the miracle he'd been waiting his entire life to find. Rin, Alden whispered. You're breathtaking. Rin ducked his head, heart hammering. Alden crossed the room and offered his hand. Shall we? Rin slid his fingers into Alden's. The warmth of his grip, steady, firm, gentle, made Rin feel safe in a way nothing else ever had. They walked into the grand hall together. Gasps rippled across the nobles. The soldiers straightened. The kingdom watched with awe. Alden spoke first, voice strong. Today I do not choose a consort for politics. I choose the one I love. Then Rin spoke, unexpectedly steady. Today I do not hide. I choose the future I want, with the man I love. Alden lifted Rin's hand and kissed it softly, and under the vaulted ceiling, surrounded by their people, they exchanged vows. Simple, sincere, beautiful. When Alden leaned in and kissed Rin, slow, warm, reverent, the hall erupted in cheers. Rin smiled against Alden's lips, happiness blooming so bright it almost hurt. They were married. Later, as the celebrations faded, Alden led Rin to the royal gardens, their secret refuge. Moonlight bathed the flowers in silver. Alden pulled Rin into a gentle embrace from behind, chin resting on Rin's shoulder. How are you feeling? He murmured. Happy, Rin whispered. And something else. Alden paused. Slowly, Rin turned to face him. "Alden," he said softly, placing a hand over his stomach. "I think I'm pregnant." The king stilled, his breath caught, eyes widening, shining, softening, disbelieving. "Rin, are you sure?" Rin's voice trembled with emotion. My body feels different. And my scent," Salen sensed it. She wasn't sure yet, but... He looked up, hope wavering. "I wanted to tell you first." Alden's hands trembled as he cupped Rin's face. "Rin," he whispered, voice thick with joy he could barely contain. "You're carrying our—" Rin nodded. Alden pulled him into the tightest, warmest embrace Rin had ever felt. He buried his face in Rin's neck, breath shaky. "Thank you," Alden whispered, "for staying, for trusting me, for giving me a family." Rin hugged him back just as tightly. "You gave me a home," he whispered. "And now, a future." Alden kissed him, soft, emotional, overflowing with tenderness. "Rin," he murmured against his lips, "I'll protect you both, always." Rin smiled. "I know." News of the marriage, and the coming heir, spread across the lands. Tensions eased, borders opened, trade resumed. The North and South met for the first peaceful summit in decades. Prince Kael attended. He kept his distance at first, a quiet observer. But as Rin approached him alone, Kael offered a small, bittersweet smile. "You look well, Rin." "I am," Rin said softly. Kael nodded. "I'm glad. Truly. This time it was Kael who stepped back first." "Be happy," he murmured. "That's all I ever wanted." Rin bowed his head in respect, and Kael left, finally free to heal. A month later, Alden traveled with Rin into the mountains. They reached a humble valley home, where an older Omega waited at the door, hands trembling, eyes full of tears. "Rin," she whispered. Rin approached slowly. "Mother?" She pulled him into a fierce embrace. "I'm alive," she cried, "and so are you. That's all I ever prayed for." Alden bowed respectfully behind them, and Rin, for the first time in his life, felt whole. Months later, Rin sat in the palace gardens, hand resting on the small swell of his stomach. Alden knelt beside him, brushing a kiss to his temple. "Comfortable?" Alden asked gently. Rin leaned into him, more than ever. Alden placed his hand over Rin's, feeling the faintest flutter beneath. "That's our child," Rin whispered, eyes shining. Alden's breath caught. He pulled Rin close, protective and loving. "Rin," he murmured, "you've given me a kingdom worth ruling." Rin smiled softly. "And you gave me a life worth living." Alden kissed him, slow, tender, filled with quiet devotion. Above them the sky brightened. A new dawn, a new era, a new family. And no matter what came next, they would face it, together. Bonus epilogue: The Child of Two Kingdoms. 6 months passed. Rin's pregnancy progressed smoothly, almost too smoothly according to the palace physicians. Omegas were delicate during gestation, but Rin's energy didn't fade. His scent didn't destabilize. His health remained steady and strong. "Your body is unusual," the head physician murmured during an examination, almost as though it was built for this. Alden, who never left Rin alone, frowned. "What does that mean?" The physician swallowed. "That this child may not be ordinary." Alden's protective instincts surged, but Rin, strangely, wasn't afraid. He felt a gentle pulse inside him every morning, a warmth he couldn't explain, a presence that felt aware, attentive, loving. Sometimes, when he placed his hand on his own stomach, he felt the faintest ripple of Omega calm spreading outward, soothing him, calming his nerves. "Our baby," Rin whispered one evening as he leaned into Alden's side on their garden bench, "is strong." Alden kissed Rin's temple. "So will their future be." Rin smiled softly and rested his hands over his belly. "What do you think they'll be like?" Alden thought for a moment. "Kind," he said. "Brave. Loyal. They'll have your heart." Rin flushed, smiling. "And your strength," he said. "Your patience." Alden laughed under his breath. "And they'll be a miracle." Rin leaned his head on Alden's shoulder. "They already are." When the time came, it was quiet. No chaos. No danger. Just soft candlelight and Alden's hand gripping Rin's, his voice guiding him through each breath. And then, a cry. Small, strong. Sharp enough to pierce the heart. Alden almost collapsed with relief. The midwife placed a tiny bundle into Rin's arms. A boy, warm, soft, with a faint dusting of pale hair and eyes that, when they blinked open, shone gold like Alden. "He looks like you," Rin whispered, voice trembling. Alden kissed Rin's forehead, tears threatening his composure. "He looks like us." Their son clung to Rin's finger immediately, gripping with surprising strength for a newborn. The midwife gasped quietly. That grip, incredible. Alden noticed something else. The child's scent. It wasn't alpha, wasn't T omega, wasn't beta. It was blended, balanced, new. "What is he?" Alden whispered. Rin held their son closer, eyes shining with awe, something the world hasn't seen before. The child opened his eyes fully then, gold and silver swirling like starlight, and for a moment Rin felt a pulse of warmth in his mind, as if the child was speaking without words. "Mama." Rin's breath caught. Alden stiffened at Rin's reaction. "What is it?" Rin shook his head slowly, overwhelmed. "He spoke to me." Alden froze. "Spoke." Rin nodded, tears gathering in his eyes. Not with words, with feeling. "He's reaching out. He knows me." Their child blinked up at them, innocent and bright. A miracle, a promise, a beginning. 3 days later, as the kingdom celebrated the newborn prince, Rin sat in the nursery, rocking the baby gently. Alden had stepped out briefly to address the cheering crowds. The room was warm, quiet, peaceful, until a sudden chill prickled at the back of Rin's neck. He turned. The balcony curtains fluttered. Rin stood slowly, holding the baby close. "Who's there?" Silence. Then, very faintly, a voice drifted on the wind. "The child of 2 kingdoms. The one who will unite or destroy us all." Rin's blood ran cold. He backed away instinctively, clutching his son. "Show yourself." A figure shifted in the shadows, a silhouette cloaked in black, with a crest Rin did not recognize. The stranger stepped forward, their face still hidden. "So this is the child foretold," they murmured, "the one who must not live." Rin's breath caught, his heart pounded. Before he could scream for guards, the figure leapt toward the balcony railing and vanished into the night. Rin rushed forward, nearly stumbling. Gone, but not before leaving a final whisper hanging in the air. "We will return for him." Rin froze in terror. His son, the baby cradled against his chest, gurgled softly, unaware of the danger. Rin held him tighter, tears in his eyes. "No," he whispered fiercely. "No one will take you. No one." Alden burst into the nursery moments later, sensing Rin's panic, sword half drawn. "Rin, what happened?" Rin looked up at his husband, trembling. "Alden," he whispered, "he's not just our miracle." Rin clutched their baby to his chest as the child's golden eyes gleamed faintly. "He's the beginning of something new, something dangerous, something the world fears." Alden stared at the child, at Rin, at the open balcony. "What are you saying?" Rin swallowed, voice shaking. "I think our son is destined to change everything, and outside, in the dark." A second pair of eyes glowed, watching, waiting. The threat had only begun. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. Kindly comment below if you loved it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon for more amazing content. Drop a comment with your favorite moment, and I'll see you in the next one.